What's up, everybody? Welcome back into TK Wrestling. We are here with our Royal Rumble 2026 review. And Matt, I thought the show overall was good. I thought it was really fun. Found out while I was watching the show that apparently they didn't start until 10 p.m. Saudi time. So
Right?
those people in the arena didn't leave until after 2 a.m.
Yeah, no, that's why I didn't realize it until the end when they said it's 2 a.m. in Saudi or something like that. I'm like, what? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
welcome into TK Wrestling's 2026 Royal Rumble review. Like I said, fun show. I had a really fun time watching it. I thought the Women's Rumble was maybe one of the best Women's Rumbles we've had since they started the Women's Rumbles, their iteration of it. And yeah, we'll talk about all the other matches going into all this. But yeah, Matt, this Saudi show was pretty crazy. They built this whole entire stadium in like 2 weeks
Yeah, 2 or
to
3 weeks.
to
Yeah.
to house all these facilities and whatnot. Looks like a much bigger arena, but only sat about 25,000 people. And they made a huge spectacle about it all week, rightfully so. And yeah, overall thoughts before we jump into the match by match, Matt. But what did you think about the overall show?
You know, I don't know. I mean, like, I think it was good in a lot of ways, but I think it was unsurprising in a lot. Like, you picked Roman, right, for the men's Rumble? Like, you went 4 for 4. I went 3 for 4. So I don't think it was as surprise filled as maybe we were expecting. Like, I don't know. You'd have to tell me if there are any like major, NXT stars or somebody who showed up in either the men's or the women's Rumble that really threw you. But for me, there wasn't really any great big surprise. No Joe Henry. So, I mean, now I'm worried because I've said his name multiple times. He hasn't shown up. But no, I mean, but as far as like the storylines and stuff, the way things were going, it felt really good, but it felt a little underwhelming maybe. So I don't know. I'm a little mixed still. I'm still kind of, taking it in and trying to absorb. I think a lot of stuff is going to come out of this that's going to be really interesting. It's going to be one of those where we look back and we're like, man, maybe that Rumble was more impactful than I realized. But right now, I'm a little uncertain, I guess.
Yeah, well, let's jump into the Women's Rumble. The Women's Rumble, of course, started the show. And like you said, WWE left a lot of these spots for the Rumble matches unannounced, left them empty to kind of get us ready for the surprises that were to come. And for the Women's Rumble, I mean, we did see some NXT call-ups. We saw like Kalani Jordan, JC Jane. There was one more name that Sol Ruka, of course, went into the
Yeah.
final three, much less the final four, but yeah, we saw some NXT names, and then of course Brie Bella making her
Brie Bella,
big, long-awaited return as
what
number
a pop she
29, was
got,
it?
dude. Oh my
Man,
God, what a pop she got.
I didn't realize how over the Bellas in general were in Saudi. They
Right.
both of them just got cheered massively in Saudi Arabia. And look, if we're what we've been talking about for weeks, if we are really starting to dissolve the women's tag team division, then like the Bellas coming back as a tag team makes sense. They were really I'll say the first without like really diving too much into thinking about it, but they were really the first women's tag team of the modern era that really started this in terms of like women's tag
Right.
team wrestling being really a focal point. So yeah, love seeing Brie Bella back. I was shocked to see her back considering her husband is AEW. And yeah, I do think that we could have had some big surprises. Obviously, we can always have bigger surprises, but I think in terms of the structure of the women's Rumble match, I thought it was pretty good, and I think we were both right in terms of this was really an opportunity to start dissolving a lot of these tag teams in the women's division that we have been waiting on the downfall of. A lot of that happened last night in the Rumble, so look, could there have been bigger surprises? Yeah, for sure. But I really feel like the Saudi crowd was really good about the surprises we did get that kind of made the surprises we got feel a little more impactful. Because even the NXT names that came up, I was shocked that they cheered for the NXT names. I saw Santi talking about it last night, and Saudi Arabia must be really hip to NXT because every time an NXT person, showed up, they made a lot of noise for them. But like Zelina Vega, crickets. That the entire stadium was quiet. Who else? Like even Natty got a few cheers. Again, I think it's like these long tenured or these legends or even these newer names that got a lot of love, but like Candice LeRae, nothing. Lola Vice got some stuff, but like so Yeah, I thought the women's rumble was really fun. I think it was the right winner. I think it's about time that Liv got her flowers. But Matt, I think the biggest thing that we probably want to talk about coming out of this women's rumble that I'll throw it to you here is Liv eliminating Raquel. You know, maybe a little earlier than we thought, and out of nowhere, which we kind of expected it to be, like a oh my god, she eliminated Raquel. But I didn't think it would be. I thought maybe it would be like it would come down to them too, and
Right,
maybe
right.
Liv would do something underhanded.
She
So
did. She took the moment. I mean, like I said, Raquel made the final four, and then as soon as Raquel made the final four, Liv knocked her out. So it was in a sense, maybe not like you said the final two, but Liv picked her moment, and when she saw the opportunity, because she knew if it's just her and Raquel, and it's straight up, Raquel's probably going to throw her out. So she picked her moment, picked it smartly, and she explained it away as best as she could, like that they knew, like, but we'll see what happens because Raquel's got a championship match coming up, what, like next week or something, or in the very near future.
this Monday, this
This
coming up
Monday,
Monday.
my bad, Monday, yeah, next week or tomorrow. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and I'm curious if Liv tries to like play it off on Monday with Raquel and say, "Hey, look, I know that it was jarring and shocking in the moment, but like my thought process, Raquel, is that you already have a title match on Monday. Like, why do
Right,
you need
right,
the Royal Rumble title match if you already have a championship match coming up on Monday?" And that could be like that little conniving heelish thing that you get Liv to say or do or whatever. But I don't know about you, Matt. My opinion still holds true. I said it on our last pod that I think that with I've already called half of it with Liv winning the Rumble, and with Raquel going to face an injured champion in Stephanie Baker on Monday Night Raw. I don't know, man. Part of me feels like Raquel might legitimately take it, and maybe even in a weird twist of like storyline that we don't know where it's going. Maybe Liv even helps Raquel with it, and
right.
now we're looking at Raquel and Liv, or even Raquel, Liv, and Roxanne at WrestleMania. So I don't know. Maybe we see a situation where Roxanne is the special guest referee at WrestleMania between the two in that championship match, and it kind of throws in this other third wrench, this weird dynamic. So I don't know exactly where we're going yet with this Liv, Raquel, and the Judgment Day stuff, but we were at least right on the nose that we knew it was gonna the first shot would be sent at the Royal Rumble with Liv maybe eliminating Raquel. I thought maybe she would eliminate Raquel and Roxanne, but Raquel is the more impactful elimination anyways. So yeah, man. I'm really excited about Liv finally getting that win. Multi time runner up. She's been top four like four times or five times at this point. So yeah, really excited for Liv. Really excited for her, especially after the injury, to get this championship match and maybe another potential championship run. I don't think that there's a woman in the women's division that's been as hot and as on top with the fans as Liv Morgan the last 2 years. So I think it's very much deserved.
It'll be interesting because if Liv does well, she's obviously going to get the championship shot. But if she gets the championship, let's say she does, it ends up being against Raquel, that it goes the way kind of we're predicting. Up until this point, it feels like she's always had backup, you know? And if her backup is who she's facing, it's going to be really interesting to see how that works out in the future. If she beats Raquel, does Roxanne stick with her? I mean, so far, the only person she seems to have aligned herself with for certain is Dirty Dom. She is sticking by Dom. She's saying he's the greatest Mysterio ever. She's running all that malarkey. So, with that in mind, like I said, what happens? Because I've always thought of Liv as being somebody who, you know, doesn't necessarily need the heel help, but definitely needs the heel help. You know what I mean? Or appreciates the heel help that she does get. And she gets a lot of it. So what happens when you take maybe Raquel and Roxanne away from her? What does that look like for Liv as a champion versus just Liv as a contender? Liv as a contender is different than Liv as a champion. So we'll see what's up with that. But no, we saw all these women's tag team matchups in a sense sort of disintegrate, except you remember who I said I think is going to take the title off of
Lash and Jax.
who were never in the ring together?
Yep.
Lash and Jax. Everybody else was, and it seemed like they took each other out, right? We already said Liv taking out Raquel. We've got first, the not friends at the beginning was so cute. I mean, we haven't talked about that, but it was so cute to have Alexa and Charlotte there at the beginning, and they both like acted like they're gonna hit their finishers, and then they hug it out and they waited for the third entrant finally, you know. But for a second there, you didn't know. You didn't know. You could see Charlotte, you know, and then Charlotte later accidentally knocks Alexa out, and you could see it in her face, the accidentalness. So it's curious. Is that going to be the wedge that drives between them? Like we obviously saw Kyrie and Asuka, and their falling out that happened really fast, 1-2 with EO and whatnot. So is this going to be the end of the Kabuki Warriors? And then Rhea and Io, they never once kind of worked as a tag. The rest of the other ones did. There was a time, I think, when Rhea came in to the ring, Io was like on a top turnbuckle, like somebody was trying to push her out, and she didn't come over immediately and start bashing that girl to get Io free. You know, so there's at the same time, by the same time, you could argue that Rhea kind of knocked Io out. So we'll see what happens with all these going forward. But the one tag team that wasn't in there together with the two ladies who the last two Rumbles had the most eliminations in Nia last year and Lash this year, I'm telling you, I don't know when it's going to be, if it's going to be at the Rumble, but when, get ready. Those tag titles are going on Lash Legend and Nia Jax. I almost book it, guaranteed.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It feels almost like that is the most common sense outcome at this point, even though you've been calling it for a few weeks. So now, post Rumble, it looks like, yeah, Jax and Legend have to be the new tag champs. Let's talk about a few of the moments from the women's Rumble before we move on. Whenever Charlotte eliminated Alexa on accident, I do like the extra added where it looked like Charlotte was still trying to like reach for it. Oh no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, and save her.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did like that. So that was
You
good.
can see the guilt. You can see like, I don't think she meant to, I don't think there was
No.
any maliciousness. And I think that's something that's so interesting about Charlotte's character right now is her overcoming this persona, in a sense, of this selfish, diva. I'm at the top. Nobody else can touch me. Like, her and Alexa's relationship has so softened her to a degree that like even she's still fighting, right? So
Mhm.
it's really, I really like this evolution of her character. And I hope that the Not Friends, like, of all the tag teams, I don't want that one to break up right now. I feel like that's a lot of fun still.
Well, I got some bad news for you. I think this is even. Remember, I told you a few weeks ago. I told you that I didn't think Charlotte would be the one to turn. I think it's going to be Alexa.
It might
And
be.
I think this lends even more to that happening. Is Charlotte can say, well, obviously it was an accident. You saw me try to reach for you. You saw I obviously wasn't aiming for you. And you know what? Maybe they get another tag title rematch. Maybe they get another shot at those tag titles and they lose. And then Alexa finally snaps because, like you said, I think this story is a very big part of Charlotte overcoming this preconceived notion of the type of person she is. And maybe not even a preconceived notion, somebody that she has shown us that she is for a decade now. And so I think that with Charlotte having to overcome that, what better way to make Charlotte an even bigger babyface than to have the one person turn on her, especially after an accident, especially after she didn't mean to do that. And she, because again, Charlotte didn't want to be friends with Alexa. I said this a few weeks ago. Charlotte did not want to be friends with Alexa. Alexa worked her way in and basically changed Charlotte from the inside out. And if that were to all come crashing down and the one person that caused this to happen in Charlotte, this change, all of a sudden now Alexa has changed and has turned on Charlotte, man, I think you'd have a workings of like a really massive baby face in Charlotte Flair, which is like, you asked me, and she went to go hand it off, and she looked at Jessica Carr, and she's like, nah, and handed it to the other ref.
Yeah.
My gosh, that was brilliant. That was so funny.
That was good. That was good. No, one of my favorite moments was, like I said, the one wrestler I feel like got the most crap in Unreal, Chelsea Green. I loved Chelsea Green in this yet again, and I loved. Did you see that save where Alba Fire got on Chelsea's pushing up off her back? I mean, that was a lot of fun, dude. I liked, like I said, that she tried to team up with Rhea, and Rhea wasn't having it. Chelsea Green, she's a Canadian national treasure who just happens to be in America right now. So look, I thought it was great. I thought Chelsea was a lot of fun. I don't know what else did you like about this one?
Not too much that we need to talk about left.
Okay, here, I'll ask you this. Does Becky and Charlotte just have bad blood, like, going back that I don't know about? Or is this like a start of a feud, maybe? Because like I said, when they rolled out, I didn't realize that they went under the bottom of the ropes at first. I mean, obviously they did, but I was like, wow, they are so like into each other. They don't care. They just eliminated themselves to beat the crap out of
No,
each other outside
no,
the ring.
no. I don't think this is going anywhere. There's a lot of
Okay.
history. They've got a lot of history just between each other on the main roster, but man, I won't dive too much into it. But Bailey, Sasha Banks, who you don't really know Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch, they all came into NXT together and were
Gotcha.
dubbed the Four Horsewomen because they were basically like changing the game of women's wrestling. Bailey versus Sasha Banks at Takeover Brooklyn in 2015, I think that's the year, is one of my favorite matches of all time. So the NXT women's product, we're gonna have to go back and watch a bunch of that stuff. But no, there's just some old bad blood there between them. So that's probably just a lot of that. I don't think that's going anywhere at all. I wouldn't be surprised if Becky Lynch and Charlotte have zero interactions the rest of 2026. So I don't think
I
that's
just
going
didn't know because,
anywhere.
like I said, if we break up that tag group, not that I'd imagine Charlotte going in for a mid title, but
Oh well, she could. She hasn't won
she
them yet.
could.
So
That's what I'm saying. But she could. So I didn't know if like maybe if we're breaking up Charlotte and Alexa, if that's where she's going, maybe singles, maybe she's going to start a feud with Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental. So
maybe if she gets moved over to Raw, like post whenever they
I
decide to
guess that's
switch
true
brands
too.
up
I
again.
always
Yeah.
got to remember the brands. I always got to remember
Yeah. The dang brands.
the
No,
dang the
but
dang
no,
lack
I
of
could
crossover. Yeah.
I could definitely see Charlotte going after mid card titles. Look, I consider Becky Lynch the top of the top. So if Becky can go after mid card titles, literally anybody can. So I could definitely see Charlotte winning. I'm surprised actually that Charlotte hasn't been women's US and Intercontinental champion already. I'm surprised
Right.
they haven't thrown those titles on her to just pad her resume even more. Because I mean, at this rate, she's on pace to break her dad's record for most world championships, or not her dad's record anymore, but John Cena's record for most world championships. She's on pace to beat that, and it honestly it probably won't even be close. Charlotte could be a 20-time world champion by the time she's done. Yeah, I think this was a really fun Rumble. I think the women's Rumble was actually excellent. I think the best match of the night, in my opinion, considering the storylines, the way that everything progressed, and just the unpredictable nature. I mean, obviously we called the winner, so the winner I don't want to say was predictable, but she was the odds-on favorite in Liv. But I like our final four was a little different, given that I did have Bianca being there at the final four and she didn't show up. Her injury must be a lot more serious than we are led on because man,
I
I know
mean,
fingers are tough. I know when
yeah.
you're a wrestler, fingers are tough, but like, man, the fact that she has been out, I mean, she's been out for 9+ months now. And the fact that
Has it
she's
been
still
that
been out,
long?
yeah, didn't
Jeez.
return to the Rumble.
Jeez.
And looks like no like I mean, I could have sworn I saw like a teaser for her maybe showing up at the Rumble. And she wasn't there. But
I
I
mean, there were rumblings that she was going to be at the Rumble. So, I
yeah.
mean, there are a lot of people talk. But I'll tell you what, for me, one of the most impactful Bianca Belair matches in the last, I don't know, 2 years was Elimination Chamber. So if you're going to bring her back, maybe you bring her back for Elimination Chamber. I don't know. But no, I'm with
Win
you. I
two
was,
chambers in a row, that could be cool.
I'm just saying, but, like, you're right. I didn't think about it, so you mentioned it. But yeah, no, she wasn't there. Like, that was kind of surprising. No, Bianca Belair figured she would be back and healthy. So we hope whatever it is, man, like you said, fingers are tricky. Just hope she's able to get healthy, man.
And last thing I'll say that I loved is obviously we both called Lash Legend going on a big run. I almost picked her for my most eliminations, but I switched up last second just to be different, and it almost worked out for me. Jordan Grace got a few good eliminations and was holding the record for a while, but then Lash Legend went on that crazy run. And so I gotta say, man, I think that coming out of this, obviously Liv wins and she's going on to WrestleMania. I don't think that anybody came out looking like a bigger star than Lash Legend. I mean, and I think the exclamation point of it was the elimination on Io Sky. I thought that all the eliminations up to that point were like, okay, that makes sense, Lash. But I really thought that they were going to have Io like crawl back up and maybe work her way out of it. But it was just the Lash just like focusing in and then just like boom, big kick and Io was gone. I thought I thought that was the best elimination of the entire Rumble. I thought that was like really big exclamation point on the fact that they think that Lash Legend is a future perennial main eventer. I think that coming out of this Nia Jax and Lash Legend tag team, I think that Lash Legend's going to be a superstar. And it's crazy that her and Trick Williams are an item because I think both of them are the most like two of the most naturally charismatic and just naturally talented people on the roster. So look for Trick and Lash Legend to be the power couple maybe of 2027. I think there's a pretty good chance that both of them could be world champions within the next year or so. So shout out to Lash Legend. I knew she was gonna have a good rumble, but even though she didn't get close to the record of eliminations, I felt like every elimination was meaningful and really was impactful for her. So, kudos to WWE and Lash Legend. I think she did a great job. And then real quick, Iron Woman. We I won't go over all of our guesses. You can go back and watch our react or predictions if you want to see those. But Iron Woman was Charlotte Flair, of course. Liv ends up winning. Lash Legend gets the most eliminations, and then first and second out were Charlotte and Alexa. So we didn't hit on a lot of them, and it is what it is. That's kind of the rumble. You never really know. There's so many factors, but we both called the winner, and you at least got the most eliminations right in Lash Legend. So we got a few of them. So we'll take that.
My one last takeaway: Tiffany Stratton looks legit coming back. Like, I feel like there's something different about Tiffy time this time around. She felt she felt mature in a way that she hadn't for me before. I didn't realize how happy I was to see and I forgot. I said, who's coming out at 30? Who's coming out at 30? And when she came out, I was like, yeah, all right, all right. So I'm not like unhappy to see Tiffy, but this was like the first time that I felt like, all right, I want to see this new iteration of Tiffany Stratton. So I'm really curious where they take her going forward.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when you have a title reign like Tiffany Stratton had, because you got to remember, she was champ for a long time and
Mhm.
didn't lose until she lost to Jade and gave that title up. And so I think that the break for Tiffy was good. I think that we needed to not have her on TV for a while so that way people wanted her back. Because look, the main event scene on SmackDown for the women's division, let's not pretend that it hasn't been bleak. It's been pretty empty. And so Tiffy coming back is a nice shot of adrenaline to that division. And I agree with you. I think mature was the right word. She looks almost as if she's like hit another level almost in a way, even after having a long hiatus and finally coming back. I think it's almost like she got in better shape probably. She, rehabbed any minor nagging injuries she may have had. And now she's ready to go into WrestleMania. And with her not getting the Rumble win, is she going to go and get a rematch against Jade at WrestleMania for that title? And if not, what's up next for Tiffy? I think that's the biggest question is what's next for Tiffy. And maybe she's in a chamber match. Who knows? But I agree with you. I think Tiffy looked great. I was really excited to see her back. And I had her in my final four, so I needed her to come back. There we go. I, of course, had Bianca, and she didn't show up either. All right, up next. Oh, man, let's talk about it. AJ Styles versus Gunther. Now, of course, we won't dance around it. Gunther ends up taking AJ Styles out in the exact way that I called it. Not that I feel like I should be patted on the back. I feel like it was pretty clear where we thought this was going. AJ Styles, of course, passes out to the sleeper hold, and I think that's the perfect way for AJ to go out if he were going to go out in this match at all. I like that none of the shenanigans, cost him the win with like the low blow behind the ref's back and so on and so forth. I'm glad that wasn't the final spot. I'm glad that AJ, went out fighting and there was nothing else that could stop AJ except for the fact that he just couldn't wake up and he just couldn't fight back. And it was like he used every ounce of fight and energy and want that he had. And you saw it in his reaction when he woke up. He was like, no, 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 no. Like, what happened? What? No. I just thought, I thought it was beautifully executed. I thought the match was really fun. I thought that the ref, oh man, I don't know if you were really paying attention to the ref or like if it really had that much impact on you, but the referee, he just really played up the whole time of like, not like I want AJ to win, but like, come on, AJ, if you don't get up, this is it. Come on,
Yeah, no,
AJ. Like,
he was always like checking,
man,
vocally checking on him, like, in a way you don't usually hear refs do, I guess.
I just felt the emotion throughout the entire thing, and the match itself we knew was going to be good. We knew that the in-ring work was going to be excellent between these two, but the psychology and the storytelling and the emotion was just like an 11 out of 10. And was it either of these guys' best match of their careers? Obviously not. I think that they both had better matches, but the way that it just like Matt, I was doing laundry as I was watching this. And the way that I probably stood there for like 10 minutes with the same blanket in my hands, just like watching. It just had me. And look, man, I'm tired of seeing my childhood, guys retire. Goldberg, I wasn't a huge fan of, but he was massive in the late 90s, early 2000s when I was a kid. And then, of course, John Cena and now AJ Styles. And AJ Styles not putting the gloves down, which I thought he was going to do. I said it, he was going to do. He ended up not doing that and keeping the gloves on. I think that that is letting us know he's not done. I think that he was very particular in his wording last Monday night, where he said this might be the end of my WWE career. So I think that, like I've been saying for a few weeks now, and a lot of other people think, I think he's going to TNA. I think he's going to go have a good run in TNA. He wants to be world champion one more time. Let him go be TNA world champion. Let him go wrestle in New Japan for a few times. Let him get some of these dream matches out that he really wants to get out before he's done. And then 2026 happens. We can call it a wrap for AJ Styles, and then next year he's in the WWE Hall of Fame. I think that that is the perfect scenario for AJ Styles. So while I am sad to see AJ go, outside of Finn Balor, I don't know that there were very many more matches that I was like, I've got to see AJ have in the WWE before he's done. Like you could maybe say Javon Evans, but Javon Evans is so young that we're kind of just like fantasy booking two high flyers at different parts of their career against each other. But like with the history that he has with Finn Balor, with the Bullet Club and all that stuff, that was really the only guy I would have liked him to see go up against. But outside of that, most of the dream matches he has left are outside of WWE. So give me AJ Styles to go on a run somewhere else. But if this is really the end, then like, man, I'm sad, but very fortunate and grateful that I got to witness the career of AJ Styles, because for those people that only know the WWE career of AJ Styles, you don't know the career of AJ Styles. You got to go and find the 15 years prior to that. And yeah, super sad to see. Really hated what they did with Gunther after the fact of this match, which we can talk about more later. But in terms of this match, I thought I thought the overall match and story and execution was great, and I loved it. And hate to see AJ go, and I wish they would have maybe given him like a minute or two on the mic to say something. But maybe that time off the mic gives me the inclination that we're not done seeing AJ somewhere else yet. And maybe he just gets a big moment on Monday Night Raw. Maybe he gets to have a speech there. But yeah, I thought the match in and of itself, was executed great. Matt, what did you think?
Look, I'm not going to echo most of that. I mean, I think the match was fantastic. There are even times, especially towards the end, where you thought for a second maybe he's not going to lose. Maybe he's going to find a way. Like it was that compelling of a match towards the end. But yeah, no. When you said a couple weeks ago you thought he was going to be put in a sleeper hold and not come out of it, I was like, that's the way you end it. And we've talked about it. As you said, he's probably going to go, or I almost guarantee he's wrestling matches in TNA or Japan or whatever. That's why he didn't leave the gloves in the ring. That was symbolic of that 100. I was surprised though that he didn't get any mic time at the end. Something. Because I don't know when you do it. I don't think you bring him back for a Raw. Do you bring him back after he's done all of his TNA, Japan, whatever, wherever he's going to go wrestle some matches? Do you bring him back then and do an official retirement speech? Does he referee a match, like some big like SummerSlam match or something? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Does he referee a match? Is that the sort of thing where, because I feel like, yeah, we're going to see AJ Styles on BW one more time, hopefully, but I think it would have been more impactful to give him the mic then. But I don't know. I mean, it sucks. It just sucks he's gone, because we saw yet again he is just as good. He is compelling to watch, and I get he's up there in age and he doesn't want to, go out, burn out. He'd rather go out, hot. So 100, man, it just sucks, dude. Like AJ Styles is one of my favorite guys on the roster. It sucks to see him retire, but I'm happy he's doing it on his terms. That's the main thing. Happy he's doing it the way he wants to do it. Hope he does have a good time wrestling in other promotions, wrestling guys he wants to wrestle one more time. And then I hope he enjoys life on the beach, with a nice cocktail.
Yeah.
Thank you, AJ Styles.
Yeah, thank you, AJ Styles. I think one of the big things that maybe we're seeing, a lot of people aren't talking about, that maybe we're seeing in modern day wrestling, is a lot of guys are, if you're a WWE guy and you've been a WWE guy for a while, you can maybe afford to step away earlier. Back in the day, guys weren't making as much money, and they were paying for a lot more of their stuff on the road. Like, I don't know what WWE talent pays for now, but for the longest time, it was like, yeah, you work for WWE, but you pay for all your food, you pay for all your rentals, you pay for all your hotels. That's all on you. And so by the time the year's done, like, sure, you may be making six figures, but what are you making after? And so a lot of guys, like obviously John Cena, I mean, he's a movie star too, but guys like AJ Styles, like he's a big family guy, and I'm sure he's done well with his money. And I mean, just being in WWE for 10 years and not 10 years in the early 2000s, like he's been in the WWE for the last 10 years and he's made some money. And so I think that we're going to see a lot more of this where guys are stepping away early and not drawing out their careers till they're almost 60, like Ric Flair did. Now, Ric Flair, just kind of maintained his lifestyle, but a lot of these guys, we're seeing guys wrestle until they are in their later ages. Like AJ Styles is almost 50, but you would probably guess that he's closer to 40. And same thing with John Cena. Like John Cena looked really good, but he even said, like, look, I look good when I'm out there, but that's because I'm giving all that I have.
And then you don't see me
So
next week.
yeah. And then CM Punk, another guy that's nearing 50. Rey Mysterio, another guy that's nearing 50. Like we're seeing guys that are able to make it longer into their careers. But I wonder if we're seeing an uptick of guys that are like, you know what, I'm good. Like I've made my money. I'm not gonna beat my body up past 50. But yeah, I hate to see him go. Obviously, one of my favorites on the roster as well. There's always been the joke that since he grew his hair out, that AJ Styles is my dad. So happy retirement to my father, I guess. And yeah, I hope we see him in another ring because I think there are plenty of matches that we still need to see out of AJ Styles before he is officially hanging up the boots and the gloves, I guess.
No, 100, dude, and great points. You're right. Like I said, the way that WWE has evolved as a corporation, and then like I said, the way sports medicine has evolved, and just the understanding of things. These guys can have longer careers if they want, shorter careers because of the money. You know, it's like, I mean, I wonder if you told Ric Flair, if Ric Flair was like a multimillionaire at 35, that he could just retire if he would have. Because I mean, a lot of these guys, they had to keep going because, like you said, the paycheck maybe wasn't there, or maybe they got hurt and they were out for like 3 years with an injury. Then they had to come back and wrestle through, or maybe they had to wrestle through that injury and just made it worse and worse. And like Mick Foley, man, like how many things did Mick Foley probably wrestle through that now he would take off like 3 months probably in between sessions. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
100%.
he was out there the next night. So
Well, and I think another big part of it too is a lot of these guys. It may not have been a money thing. I mean, wrestling is very much an ego-driven business. But how many of these guys were, a lot of these guys, that's their adrenaline, and that's how they feel alive, and that's just what they do. But you hear more and more and more about guys from back in the days because another big thing we didn't talk about when it comes to the schedule nowadays, talent aren't wrestling 300 times a year like they used to.
exactly, that's what I'm
Like
saying.
talent,
Yeah.
they used to wrestle 5 to 6 times a week, and
Hmm.
and a lot of those people, unfortunately, were on a lot of pain pills, a lot of muscle relaxers. Like if you listen to Kurt Angle, he was popping 60 pills a day and sometimes more. And so when you look at guys like Kevin Owens, who has been dealing with his neck injury, it's like, yeah, Kevin Owens made the rounds. Don't get me wrong, he paid his dues. But I just wonder what a guy like Javon Evans in 20 years is going to look like with his current day schedule. Because like a guy like Javon Evans wrestling 300 times a year the way he wrestles probably wouldn't be long for a really 20, 30-year career. But a guy like Javon Evans that only has to wrestle 2 times a week or 3 times a week, So, anyways, all that to say,
No, no, Kevin Owens is a great example because if you take
yeah,
Kevin Owens and you put him like 25 years ago, 30 years ago, Kevin Owens wrestles through the neck injury, popping pills, and he's loving every minute of it because he's Kevin Owens. That's who he is. And there's nobody stopping him talking about the ramifications, or maybe he shouldn't do that. And there's no ability to, because even if they did, he'd be like, well, I got to make the paycheck. So even if people talked him into it, he probably couldn't because of a money situation. Now Kevin Owens is somebody who, I bet you if you asked Kevin Owens tomorrow if he wanted to wrestle, he would, you know? But he's been advised that you shouldn't wrestle with the neck, and he's got the financial security that he doesn't have to wrestle with the neck. So we've seen him take the time off. But yeah, 30 years ago, man, Kevin Owens has just been popping pills, probably back in the ring right after that hellacious ladder match with Cody Rhodes, man, that I'm still sits in my brain as one of the most brutal matches of the last couple years. So
Yeah, I just think about that spot of him going through the ladder with his neck just, like, folding up the
Just
way it
like,
did.
luckily the perfect spot, for
Yeah.
what it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
Still
and
still
him
painful as
saying
all get out.
yeah, and him saying after the fact, like, "Oh, yeah, that spot really had nothing to do with the neck injury. My neck was already hurt." And
Right,
so
right. Like,
that's
he
even
was already
crazier.
wrestling with it. That's what I'm saying. He already, like, nobody had talked about it yet. So yeah, no, Kevin Owens would have been one of those guys 30 years ago who just would have, like you said, would have been part of the adrenaline rush and everything, would have needed somebody just to grab him and be like, Kevin, no, and you can afford not to, so.
Yeah. All right, well, jumping into our next match, the WWE Championship being defended by Drew McIntyre against Sami Zayn. Of course, Sami Zayn, almost like a hometown hero in a lot of ways. Huge crowd support here. And we were just talking about this, so I want to bring this up. The article I'm reading says last time in action, Sammy, of course, was on the 8-man tag match on SmackDown, but something we talked about where guys don't wrestle as much. The last time Drew wrestled was January 9th on SmackDown. And so it's like it's been a few weeks since Drew even was active in the ring. So just want to say even more towards the point of like hopefully a lot of these guys can keep going as long as they want. But Matt, I dived into the last two pretty quick. I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one. Going into this match, Zayn had an 0-11 record. I thought it was 0-13, but 0-11 record against Drew McIntyre. And I feel like this match really turned really early on after that one high flying move that Sammy did, where he took that landing and it looked like it tweaked his back. But let us know what you thought about it and your opinions on the match overall.
I mean, this was, I don't want to say it, but this was almost a squash match, right? I mean, I felt like the whole time Sammy was just getting his crap kicked in, man. And that was kind of surprising because, as you said, he is the Saudi, not hometown, but the Saudi hero in a sense. So I thought it was going to be more Sammy over Drew, and then Drew was still going to win somehow. That was not the case. Like, WWE did not play to the crowd in a lot of ways. They went total, like, Drew just beating the ever living tar out of Sammy, dude. Just hitting moves after moves. That even like Michael Cole, I think at one point was like, is he gonna pin him? No, he's gonna do it again. Like he's gonna hit the move again and again. This was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how you feel. Like, you do. I feel like this is par for the course for Sami Zayn, right? You do so much to build Sami Zayn up, and then once he gets there, it's like, ha ha ha, you don't deserve to be here. And that's what it felt like. It's like they built Sammy up so much again, and then he got here, and Truth's just like, dude, you're 0-11 against me, and I'm just gonna beat the ever living tar out of you. I don't even know Sammy got like did he even hit a haluva kick on him? I don't
Yeah, I
think
think he hit
did he
one.
hit
He hit
one.
one in like a rally or whatever that was quickly shut down. But
Yeah, I mean, it never felt like at any point that Drew was in any, except for maybe right at the beginning, like you said. But as soon as Sammy jumped out of the ring and tweaked his back, which he sold fantastically, by the way, because I thought he really did tweak his back at first, and then you saw Drew started working it like crazy. So it's like, all right, got to be part of the match then. But man, like, cause I've done that. I've landed on my feet wrong and felt like my sciatica hit and be like, oh, I don't know if I can stand up. I really thought they were going to call the match there for a second. Like Sammy, like, sprained his sciatic nerve or something. That was like, couldn't stand up well. I thought that was it. But yeah, no, I mean, Casey, this just felt like a squash, dude. I mean, it felt it, and this like I said, this was a Drew McIntyre match. Let's flip it. This was all about Drew. Drew establishing further his dominance, and I don't know when he's giving up this title, man. I mean, he might hold it longer than we think he's going to, because I don't see Cody taking it from him. I don't really see Fatu taking it from him immediately. At least not the first match either. So really curious how this all rolls out, and I mean, we could talk about, who won the Rumble, but do you think the Rumble winner's coming after Drew, or is the Rumble winner going after, is he going after Punk? Both storylines could work. We'll talk about that, I'm sure in a second. But anyways, I don't know, Casey, it felt like just Drew McIntyre dominance time, dude. And and at the same time, I was all here for it. I just hated that Sammy was on the receiving end.
no, I 100% agree. This was a 98% Drew McIntyre match. Like it was all Drew McIntyre in a way that you said it felt almost like a squash. And I don't really know where we go with Sammy here. Part of me wonders if maybe he did get like a stinger and he was feeling like a, like a little bit of pain there. And I feel like as long as he's not losing any like sensation in his limbs or whatever, and he doesn't feel like he's in immediate danger, maybe the refs would let him work it, or the officials would let him work it. But man, that what was it through the table? Was it a power bomb through the table
Mhm.
that he hit? Man, that spot through the table was crazy. Sami Zayn does such an excellent job selling stuff just with his facial expressions. Look, I felt like this was gonna be a weird outcome because like a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, Sammy's 0-11. He's got to win." But then you look at the fact that Sammy was also undefeated in Saudi. Sammy had never lost in Saudi. So it was a battle of the undefeated records. It was either Drew was going to lose his 11-0 record against Sammy, or Sammy was going to lose his undefeated record in Saudi. And when I looked at it, it kind of made more sense for me that Sammy would drop the match in Saudi. A, because I didn't see Drew losing in his first title defense. Although it could happen. I guess it could, but B, I just feel like Drew is more than likely going to lose the title at WrestleMania to one of the two guys that you mentioned earlier. Now, we can talk about the Rumble winner for a second. Of course, I mean, it's no spoiler. It's been out for a day already. But Roman Reigns ended up picking up the win in that Royal Rumble. And could I see him going after Drew? Absolutely. I mean, Drew has been very vocal about the fact that he does not like Roman. He does not like the bloodline. He does not like the Samoans. And so if Roman decides that he wants to go back and take that championship that he made relevant again, from Drew McIntyre, yeah, I could definitely see that happen. But then I look at where Roman is with CM Punk and their previous history and
Right,
the
right.
fact that that's the title that Roman hasn't won yet. That also kind of throws me for a loop. So I really don't know where we go. I think the Royal Rumble solved a lot of stuff, but I think it also left us with a lot more questions that we don't have the answers to yet. So I don't really know where Roman goes for the WWE Championship as of now. I could, like I said, I could still see it going to an elimination chamber match where Drew is defending that title and maybe Sammy's in that again. I really don't know. I would have to think about it again. Um,
But what do you do with
I
Sammy? I mean, I feel like
that's what I was about to say. I think the
this
biggest
just I
question
think
mark is Sammy.
this kills me for Sammy. Like, how do I take him seriously in main event matches or whatever? Right? I mean, when you get beat this badly, when it's this much of a one sided affair, and like I said, maybe he tweaked his back and they had to change the matchup because he actually did tweak his back. And they had to change it up a little bit. I don't know, but like, how do you sell Sammy as being like? I don't know. I just don't know what you do with this, man. I feel bad for Sami Zayn fans out there. I feel like he's relegated to the mid card now. Like, go on, Sammy. Go back to try to take the US championship or whatever. Whatever it's gonna be.
I I think that Sammy is still destined to be a world champion.
Okay.
I think that it was maybe, I don't want to say mistake, because you always got to have somebody going after the title. And just because you lose doesn't mean that you can never hold it. But I think that Sammy strikes me more as a Money in the Bank winner. And that could be like the Money in the Bank winner. And instead of just cashing in when the opportunity is right, I could see him maybe calling his shot like a week or two early and saying, whoever it may be, maybe Cody's champion again by then, or whoever it may be. And he says, "Hey, look, I'm the Money in the Bank winner, and I could just show up and cash this in on you at any time I want. But I want to be a fighting champion, and I'm calling you out for this PLE." And then they have it, he cashes in for that PLE, and then maybe he can win. But
I think Sami Zayn needs a Natalia type break where he goes and finds somebody who whoops the shit out of him and he's pumping iron or something.
you just gave me an idea, Matt. If Kevin Owens can't wrestle, have him be an on-screen character for Sammy.
My God,
There you
Kevin's like,
go.
we're doing it together. You're doing it for me, for you. That would be
That's right.
fun.
And it's just
Yeah.
like, look, man, if I can't do this anymore, you've got to do it for us. And he's just go through this whole training. I mean, look, Sammy was already called by a lot of people Sammy Balboa. He's just the underdog that always makes the comeback. And like, man, imagine having Kevin Owens just show up. And again, he can't get physical, cool, whatever. But he can show up in a TV role and just be there as Sammy's coach in a way, and just like helping
Yeah,
him
no,
through those. Man,
pushing him through the
I would
Rocky
love that.
montages of pushing iron and whatnot and doing one more squat, Sammy, one more squat. Dude, I am 1000% behind that. If KO can't come back as we want him to, but if he can't for whatever reason, or if it's going to be another year even, get KO back on TV that way. And like I said, give Sammy just a little bit of a glow up, a little bit of
Yeah.
a glow up. So you believe when he comes back that he can beat Drew or he can beat whoever the heavyweight or the B champion is, wherever he ends up going. Let's book that, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's book that right now. And look, you can have let's say Kevin Owens can wrestle again because we still don't know if he can. We still don't know if he's ever going to come back to be an active competitor. Excuse me. If you get the green light that Kevin Owens can eventually come back, have him come back as that on-screen character for Sammy. And then eventually when Sammy does become world champion again, just have Kevin turn on Sammy. And then you can just have them go at it again for the millionth time because they've done this a million times already, even in WWE. Like that's another set of people that Matt doesn't really know their, previous history because you've only really watched WWE. And so a lot of the Sammy and Kevin stuff, their beef comes from prior to WWE, but they've also done a really good job of since they come through NXT and the main roster of keeping them as their arch rivals in a way, even when they're best friends. They always remind each other like, hey, look, nobody knows you like me in all the good and bad ways. So yeah, book that immediately, WWE. Give me Kevin Owens as an on-screen character. All right, well, let's jump into the main event, the Royal Rumble. It's 1 a.m. and we're starting in Saudi. Here we go, man. I just can't believe how late it was there. Like what's the? I guess I'm just confused on what the thought process is at starting at 10 p.m. Like not starting your PLE till 10 p.m.
Okay.
They're starting at
they
the time that most of ours are done.
let's say they start at 7. So that's 3 hours earlier. It started at 1 here. That would be a 10 a.m. West Coast start or 11 a.m. West Coast start. It still doesn't feel too early, I guess, on a Saturday.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know.
Now, I like I said, I feel like they've done Saudi shows before that were not that late, and even like you said, even if you start at 9 a.m. on the West Coast time, it's like, hey, look, guys, sorry, get up by 9 a.m. on a Saturday. It is what it is, these every other country in the world has to abide by our time in terms of like, when it goes. If it's in France, if it's in Saudi, if it's in Germany, if it's in Ireland, doesn't matter. We just watched Monday Night Raw at 2 p.m. 2 weeks ago, so it's like. I don't know, man. I don't understand because it's not like you kept it at such a great time for the US either. You started so late for Saudi. Like if I went to a PLE and you didn't start till 10 p.m., especially if I brought my kid, I'd be pissed. Like I would be pissed. I don't think we would have made it through the whole thing. He would have been
No.
sleeping on my lap,
Yeah. No. Yeah.
by 11 p.m.
This was not for children at 10 p.m. That's for sure. Well, I guess it
Which
was.
is
Man, there were some kids out there who
yeah.
were loving every minute of it. It looked so. I don't know.
Hey.
Maybe once that sugar and adrenaline starts flowing, they're up all night.
Well, let's jump into the men's Royal Rumble match, the main event. Look, I thought that what they did with Braun Breaker right at the jump was pretty creative, and I don't know who's in the mask yet, but call me crazy. They whoever it is, I don't think is going to be whoever it was in the mask last night. I don't think is who is actually going to be who attacked Braun.
Revealed as the
Yeah.
attacker.
Because if you look, they had the chin exposed a little bit, and he had like a little tiny bit of facial hair. Not enough to be Austin Theory, not enough to be Seth Rollins. And so, unless it's somebody totally different that we're just not thinking of, my brain tells me that eventually we're either going to find out it was Seth Rollins, which would be the obvious one, or
Right.
that it was Austin Theory who went back under the mask and kind of just like, did this whole thing to be like, of course it wasn't me. I'm a part of your group now. And then months down the line, we find out like it was Austin Theory all
Or
along.
it was the third member of Seth Rollins' new vision.
It could be.
Finn Balor.
I saw a lot of people saying Finn, the way he like held his hands.
I saw people said like the way he was standing was very Finn-esque, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm used to like being just like, damn, Finn's got too many abs to ever like really notice how he stands.
Right. But Finn also has a beard, right? Am I tripping? Does Finn not have a beard as well? Yeah. So
It could be.
Because again, the person, their chin was sticking out, and they only had like buzz. They didn't have a beard. And so I don't know. I don't really know who it's going to be under the mask yet, but I love this for Braun Breaker.
My only thing is for the reason not for it to be Seth. I mean, like I said, obviously, if it wasn't Seth, if he's really got a shoulder injury, the first thing I think the dude did was like shoulder Braun or something. He came out and shouldered him into the sidewall or what or the entrance walk. And so I was just thinking, if this is Seth, is the first thing you're going to use your shoulder if the shoulder's the bad thing? I don't know. So that was my one thought on that. It's random, but I was like, Seth's got a bad shoulder. That guy shouldered him. It's not Seth. That's what I thought. So,
Yeah, I don't know who it's gonna be, but we start out with Obafemi, and
Oba
it wa
Femi.
it was made known earlier in the day because it was apparently spoiled the night before the Rumble that Braun was gonna be the number 1 entrant. And
Right.
so who knows how they decided to do it, but they eventually retconned it on the pre-show by saying that Braun was gonna be the 2nd entrant, and then of course Paul Heyman showed up and then accused Adam Pearce of like collusion and blah blah blah. That's been another thing is a lot of people think that maybe it was Adam Pearce under the mask that attacked Braun Breaker and that laid him out. And so um I
It's
don't really know.
interesting
Like I said,
because you mentioned the other day, we still don't know who was on the phone with Adam Pearce, right? And you kind of got the implication that Paul was like, hey, look, don't you know the people on the phone? What are you doing to
right.
me here? What are you doing to Braun? So that storyline at least hasn't been dropped. Like I'm glad that this mysterious powers that be still exists somewhere in this storyline.
Yeah, and I think we're closer and closer to seeing Braun and Adam Pearce at Elimination Chamber. I think that that's a ever growing possibility that we could see. I don't think it'll happen at WrestleMania, but Elimination Chamber just feels like the perfect spot to have a match like that just after the fact. All right, well, Braun Breaker gets attacked, stomped by whoever's in the hood or whoever's in the mask, gets tossed in, and is immediately eliminated by Obafemi. And look, this started what was a crazy run for Obafemi. At one point, it was like 6 eliminated with like 2 people in the ring. And it was just like, it really didn't slow down until Damian Priest got in. When Damian Priest got in, it was when the elimination slowed down. But look, we said that we thought that Obafemi was going to look like a superstar coming out of this, and not only did they make him look like a superstar in the ring, but the entrance, dude, him coming out at number 1 with all the pyro for the entire stadium just for Obafemi, man, I don't know that I've ever seen. I just said this about Trick Williams a few weeks ago, but I don't know that I've ever seen them call a guy up and immediately be like, "Hey, this is a WrestleMania main eventer from day 1." And Obafemi is definitely that. Now, I think based on what we saw in the Rumble, we can kind of just jump around and talk about spots in the Rumble. We don't have to go through the whole thing, but one of the spots that I think kind of tells us where Oba is going for WrestleMania, I think we're getting Obafemi and Brock Lesnar. I think that one has to happen at this point. Brock kind of tossing him out unceremoniously, but then Brock also getting tossed out by LA Knight and Cody Rhodes was weird. I forgot to bring this up in the women's Rumble because it wasn't so bad in the women's Rumble, but we saw it with Asuka and Kairi Sane because that elimination happened, and then their whole like whatever blow off may have happened right there on the outside of the ring, we didn't get to see because there was another entrance coming in. Man, I feel like the Rumbles just felt so rushed last night. Like
Huh.
it
All right.
like especially Jey Uso's entrance. Like Jey Uso's entrance took 3 minutes. And then he comes in and he runs it again. And look, I don't want to say that I felt like Jey Uso ruined the men's rumble, but he was pretty damn close. I feel like he was really close to ruining that whole thing. And I got to be honest with you, I loved Jey when he was a member of the bloodline and he was like really starting to show more of that side. But now that he's just kind of like this, you compared Jey in terms of his entrance and how over he is with the crowd to Hogan last year. And I think we're starting to see the effect of like, okay, I'm kind of tired of seeing Jey Uso. Okay, I'm kind of tired of like everybody else got their regular entrance except Jey Uso, and he came out through the Rumble, and he's just dancing, and the crowd's going, and it's cool, man. But like, run down to the ring, like, damn, or just give him his regular entrance. We were supposed to be getting an entrant, I think every minute and 30, and I would almost be willing to bet that his entrance alone took 3 to 5 minutes. And then Brock, and so all that to say is it felt rushed, and Brock got tossed out, which is supposed to be like a star making moment in a lot of Rumbles, is Brock Lesnar getting eliminated. He got tossed out while the crowd is fucking yeeting, dude. Like, I'm over the Jey Uso stuff. I'm over the yeet. I'm over the character that he's currently got going. I almost want to see Jay get like brutally taken out on TV so he can just sit out for 3 months and just not be on TV because WWE is really running the risk of this guy being so overly saturated that he's hated to the point that the crowd just like we get a lot of yeets right now. Don't get me wrong, but that's going to stop eventually. And the interrupting the matches, and the interrupting the eliminations and taking so long to come out through the Rumble really was like a downer for me. I was excited about the Rumble, and then the Jey Uso stuff happened, and the entrance really just like brought me down like 3 pegs. And then him running his music back, I legitimately rolled my eyes and groaned out loud. I was like, can we just be done with this shit already, dude? Like, it's cool. It's cool when it's just a match on Raw, or it's cool when it's just a regular. But in the Royal Rumble, dude, we're running his music back. I don't care how over you are. We never did that for John Cena. We never did that for Hulk Hogan. We never did that for The Rock or Stone Cold or Roman Reigns. We don't do that shit for them. And you're running the risk of, look, fans like me, we're already over the Jey Uso experiment. We've been over it. But you're running the risk of like kids no longer liking him. How far are we away from the same kids that are Jey Uso like diehards being Javon Evans diehards? Because Javon Evans actually does stuff in the ring that elicits a reaction. Jey Uso, I'm sorry, has regressed in the ring. His mic work has regressed. And so when you look at, I'm supposed to cheer for this dude when the best thing about him is his music and what the thousands of people around him and the audience do. And I get it. They only do that because of who Jey Uso is. I'm just saying that you're running the risk of doing exactly what you did to his cousin Roman and driving him into the ground and shoving him down people's throats. People are going to hate him. And if you let it get to the point that people hate him, it's going to be even more difficult to salvage that. It's going to get to the point, maybe they are just driving his character into the ground so they can make as much money and then he can disappear and come back as a new guy. I really don't know, but I know that I am over it. I'm over the Jey Uso stuff. It has grown stale 6 months ago, and 6 months later, I think I'm just getting annoyed by it, and I would just rather flip the channel when Jey Uso's on my TV.
Well, we've talked about it lately, man. Jey Uso seems like I don't know if there's something going on in his life for real, if this is the kayfabe, character that he's playing, what? But no, yeah, he's become like a bad joke of himself. It's really just gotten to be annoying. When he ran his music back, my God. And then for a second, Roman did it. And I'm so glad that Roman beat him and threw him out of the ring right afterwards, because maybe that's the start of like the end of that. Maybe that's what we needed, was Roman to be like, nope, yep, you're an idiot. Here we go. I don't know, man. But yeah, Jey went from being the guy that made Gunther tap like a year ago or whatever, not even a year ago, made Gunther tap not even a year ago, to being like a joke, a total joke. Like, I mean, yeah, I hope the kids still like him, because you don't like him anymore. He's annoying the crap out of me. And yeah, he's not doing anything in the ring. There's no great, all it is the entrance, and yeah, running it back every time. No, dude, I'm so over it. I need something to happen with Jey that's whatever. Like, and this is playing off of if he's going to quote unquote lose his mind for the storyline, I want that. I want like Psycho Jey or something, but I don't know, man. Part of me's worried that this is just Jey, I don't know, man. But yeah, he was the worst part of the Rumble. He was legit the probably worst part of the night, 100. So I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
What do you do when your guy who got the biggest pop a year ago is now the most annoying guy in your roster? What do you do? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think, because the thing with, when I compare him to like Cody Rhodes, Cody's getting booed a lot. But I think that is more so that the crowd is signaling that they're ready for a change for Cody. I think that you're running the risk of the crowd not only starting to boo Jey, but I don't think the crowd boos Cody because they dislike him. I think that they just want something different for him. I think you're running the risk of people legitimately disliking Jey, to the point that anytime he's on the screen in 6 months, if you keep going this route, it may just be a boo fest. And maybe you capitalize and turn him heel on that. I don't really know. But I think you're running the risk of his number one demographic, the kids, even being tired of him pretty soon.
I mean, I'm waiting for like whatever. I feel like in the next month, we're going to get some crazy fan who, like, when Jey comes out of the rafters or whatever, is going to throw his drink at Jey. I'm just waiting on that. I'm waiting on something like that. Somebody to throw their ice cream at Jey, their popcorn. Like, we don't want this yeet crap. We're done. Get in the ring, go wrestle, go do something. Don't just stand here.
Yeah, he's the tag team champion. And again, I hope that everything with
God, do they even
Jimmy
feel like
Nate
tag team champions? Do they even?
No,
Like, I know they won it, I know they won
They've
it,
won the
and
tag titles and haven't been together since on
yeah,
TV. And
right.
that's what I was about to say. I hope that because apparently Jimmy's been taking time off for personal reasons, and that baby is nowhere near close to being, full term.
Well, then I
So
hope Naomi's having a healthy pregnancy then. I hope
that's what I was
there's
about to
no
say. Without speaking anything
complications.
out into the
Right,
universe, I hope that
right.
Naomi is completely healthy and maybe that Jimmy just had to take some time off. But the fact that he's just been gone, and now given they've been traveling to a lot of foreign, like out of the country places, and I don't know if it still holds up, but both of the Usos have arrest records that for a while it stopped them from being able to travel to other companies or
Gotcha.
other countries.
Right,
Like they
right.
couldn't go to Canada for a while because they had records. And so I don't know if that's leaning into it. I'm trying not to sound ignorant talking about that because we haven't heard about that in years. But the only thing that my brain goes to is the fact that Jimmy has missed this much time is that it's got to be something with Naomi. And I'm just really hoping not. And I'm just really hoping that by the time Jimmy comes back, because again, we've seen Jay on Raw for what, 3 weeks straight, where he's just in the crowd, does a promo, 4 letters, one word, eat, and then he's gone. And that's what we've seen of our tag champions for the last month almost. And so, all that to say, I'm over the Jey Uso experiment. Take him off the TV for a few months, bring him back as somebody different, because this is not working anymore.
I mean,
All right.
I need him to get his teeth kicked in the way Fatu got his teeth kicked in.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. There you go. All right, so let's talk about a few other little spots throughout the Rumble. How about both El Grande Americanos finally coming face to face? The matchup of the century. I hear voices in the air, hear them loud and clear. Face to face WrestleMania main event worthy. We finally get both El Grande Americanos. Now look, OG El Grande Americano, who we can assume is Chad Gable, looking pretty beefed up. Looks like he looks like he did a lot of rehab while he was out with that injury. Looks fantastic. I really like both the El Grande Americanos. Look, dude, I kind of low key hope that this either turns into just Chad Gable unmasking, or maybe we get like a weird tag team out of these two, where we get to see both El Grande Americanos together. But I feel like we're more than likely headed towards Chad Gable just eventually taking the mask off and goes back to American Made, and just joins up with his old students, his proteges, if you will. And so, we were talking a lot about last year about American Made maybe holding titles, like being dripped out in gold. I think that we're headed that way this year. I think the Chad Gable injury really derailed American Made
Right.
for a while. And I think that with Chad Gable coming back healthy as ever, with American Made, the Creed brothers, being ready to be shoved back into the tag title scene, and Ivy Nile, we've been singing her praises, but she's starting to get a lot more recognition from the fans online. The fans in the audience are starting to, recognize her work a lot
No,
more.
it's coming to be her time. It feels like soon,
Yeah,
not now,
not
but
yet,
it feels like we're building it slowly. We're giving her
but
not just getting pinned all the time gigs.
yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if we get to a point where Ivy Nile is the IC champion, the Creed brothers are the tag champions, and maybe even Chad Gable is holding that Money in the Bank briefcase. I could see a situation like that. But I think a lot of what we had predicted for American Made last year is going to come to fruition this year because, again, I think that Chad Gable injury really derailed a lot of not just plans for American Made, but maybe even a few plans for just the main roster in general for Monday Night Raw and that side of things. So, really excited to see where they go with Chad Gable now that he's brought back because I feel like the El Grande Americano thing just has to be for Ludwig going forward. I think that he has done so well and run away with it and is so over in Mexico in AAA as El Grande Americano. I think you've just got to let Ludwig Kaiser stay and let Chad Gable be Chad Gable and let him do his thing. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up because whenever I saw we got both of them, I was like, oh, Matt's gonna be thrilled, bro. We got to call Logan and
We
tell
got
Logan.
and we got them back to back too. I
Yeah,
mean that was another thing. Like there was no like the fact that they came out back to back was a lot of fun. Now I got to ask you this, Casey. As far as I saw, there was no TNA, no NXT in this. Or I don't know who Royce Keys is. Is Royce Keys
no, he
W?
was an AEW guy, just got signed. He was formerly
Okay,
known as Powerhouse Hobbs. Now he's
right,
Royce Keys. But
right.
yeah,
No, because I mean everybody else, like I said, Oba, he's on the roster, right? Javon, he's on the roster, right? Trick, he's on the roster, right? So I don't know. There was no NXT,
man,
no
you're right.
TNA,
I'm looking.
and way too many AAA, dude. All right, look, I'm kind of over Mr. Iguana. All right, look, it was funny, but now it's kind of like the Jey Uso. Like that was another thing that kind of bothered me was like, all right, like okay, Mr. Iguana, it just It doesn't feel like
But
a
is
Rumble
Mr.
thing.
Iguana gonna win this thing, dude? Like, I get the
No.
spot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
so I get the spot or whatever, but again, you're right. There's a time and place, and I don't think that the men's rumble where we're preaching unpredictability is the right spot for Mr. Iguana. But you're not alone. I've seen that sentiment kind of thrown around a lot in the last 24 hours. So you're not alone on that for sure.
I mean, it's just a stick that, it was like I said, it was funny with the iguana at first, but then it just gets. It's like you can only run with that for so long. I think in American wrestling, maybe it works really well in AAA and Luchador in Mexico and whatnot. Maybe that works really well, but I just. I mean, did Damian Priest like choke slammed him Pope at the same time?
That was pretty
That was
funny
that
actually.
was
But
maybe the one funny part of it. But otherwise, it's like, what is this guy doing here? And then I don't know who La Parca is. They introduced La
La
Parca. I
Parca
know,
is pretty well known. He's pretty
I,
well known. But
right?
again,
But
a
but
name it's like, but we left out Finn Balor. Like, come on, man.
like I
Yeah,
said,
so there's a
no
few guys.
TNA, no NXT. But anyway, so I was just kind of surprised by that, by who they brought in, who wasn't on the roster. That it was all AAA guys. It felt like so.
My thought process is it must be a Saudi thing because Saudi, for the longest time, whenever they first started going to Saudi and were doing shows there, the people that run the stuff there in Saudi had a really big say so on who they wanted on those cards. And so the AAA names, Mr. Iguana feels like a name that we were just going to get. Like it feels like WWE was just going to give us that. But like La Parca, and I feel like there was one more name from AAA that I'm forgetting, but maybe not. But the La Parca thing, maybe that was just WWE, but maybe also Saudi was like, hey, look, if we're doing AAA names, we want La Parca too, because La Parca is very well known. Yeah, but like no Carmelo Hayes, no Finn Balor, no Joe Hendry, like so many names that could have like either of the members of the New Day, like Kofi
Yeah, no,
Kingston's a
yeah,
former WWE champion. So
right,
so
right.
many names that could have been, and no shade to Mr. Iguana and La Parca, legendary luchadors in their own right. Mr. Iguana, super entertaining in his own way, but I just feel like there were so many overlapping storylines with guys that weren't in the Rumble that like would have just made sense for them to be in this place instead. So I'm right there with you. A lot of AAA, even though it was only two names, if you count out Grande Americano, but I just feel like those spots would have been a lot more meaningful for a lot of the guys. Like you're telling me you don't want your U.S. champion in Carmelo Hayes in the Royal Rumble? That I don't know, man. It just, and then the Joe Hendry thing just felt like it made too much sense for him to be in it.
And then
Again, I'm going to keep harping on it, but yeah.
and then it's kind of like, I'm kind of surprised that, like guys like Fatu and Penta came out so late not to be in it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Penta
Mm-hmm.
was somebody, like if Penta had come out, at the Mr. Iguana, entrant time, you would have gotten more Penta. And I feel like Penta people love, surprised Jacob Fatu came out that late and wasn't part of the final four, so just some of these placements, I know it's quote unquote random or whatever, but some of these didn't make a ton of sense to me. Now I got to ask you this, Casey, were you surprised to see the ring general come in at number 30?
I wasn't surprised to see him come in at number 30, but I just kind of wish that Gunther wouldn't have been in the Rumble at all. Like
Right.
I, I,
Right.
I understand him being in it. Like trust me, I get it. I don't need people jumping in the comments harping on me saying like, well, why wouldn't he be in the Rumble? Blah 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 blah. I understand why he was. I just kind of wish he wasn't. I just wish that his night would have been retiring AJ Styles, but I again, I don't know what's next for Gunther. But I
I
feel
don't
like
like
this didn't help us give us any answers.
I don't like that, like he came in limping, or
Mm.
whatever. I mean, maybe that's like, I don't know if he was really injured from the match, if that's a kayfabe limp to like
Nah,
make.
I think that's kayfabe. That's
I-
probably a way that they kind of water him down not winning.
right.
It's like,
That's what I'm
he
saying.
was
Yeah.
hurt, blah blah
I mean,
blah.
yeah. So are we starting something with him and Roman? Because he's like, you only beat me because I retired AJ earlier. I should have won the Rumble. I don't know. That's the only avenue I can see is giving him an excuse. But I would have rather him try to go out, realize he couldn't go out, and somebody else had to go out 30. And there, now we got Joe Hendry.
Yeah, like oh my God, who's gonna take his place? It could be anybody. Cole. It could be Joe Hendry. Say his name, and there he is. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about a few of the highlighted spots. I thought that Paul Heyman's meltdown at the beginning when Braun Breaker got attacked was pretty great. I think that Paul Heyman's just so excellent. But
I love Paul Heyman coming out with everybody, and then you're like, "What's he doing?" And then he comes out with
with Brock,
with Brock Lesnar as well. There, it's like he's got every base covered he could possibly have. Paul, gotta love Paul.
Yeah, and then Trick Williams, of course, getting a nice reaction. Man, I think that the main roster audience has just taken so well to Trick Williams. I think that either more people watch NXT than we know, or he is just that polarizing that he has just really captured their attention this quick. And maybe it's a little bit of both
He's
because he
got good
is
entrance
just that
music,
damn
dude.
good.
Let's think
He
about that as
does.
well.
He really does.
It's fun to say, whoop that trick. Whoop
Yeah.
that trick. It's easy to remember. It's fun to say, so yeah, no, but no, but Trick deserves it as well. But don't get me wrong, his entrance music, I feel like, is definitely part of that. So
Yeah, 100%. All right, so we talked about Powerhouse Hobbs, aka Royce Keys, of course, making his debut. It looks like maybe they were setting up Royce Keys and Damian Priest down the line.
there's a little
Kind of
bit of
gave
that.
that.
There's a little bit of that. I saw he
Yeah,
also
kind
did
of
he
gave
face
that
off with
idea.
Cody as well for a second. I think he faced off with Cody for a second as well.
Well, both AEW guys. So I
Are
feel like
they?
that was maybe more of that. Yeah, because Cody helped start AEW, and then Powerhouse
Right,
Hobbs came
right.
over from AEW. So I
Gotcha,
think that's probably a little bit of that connection.
gotcha.
But no, I'm curious because someone said in our comments on one of our videos the other day that instead of Damian Priest, they see Trick Williams maybe facing Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. And the more that I lean into that, I'm like, I could actually maybe see that a little bit because Sammy and Trick were the first ones to really have beef on the main roster whenever Trick moved up. And then maybe Royce Keys. I'm going to have to get used to that. But maybe Royce Keys and Damian Priest are the Mania match that they're both headed for. Maybe that's Keys' first WrestleMania experience. And I think he would probably lose that. Damian would probably win, but I'm excited to see what Powerhouse Hobbs does in the WWE. I haven't watched a ton of his stuff in AEW. I'm not a big AEW watcher,
See, I'm gonna
but
have to actually. How do you? Because I feel like you just bring him in and he's huge. You bring Obafemi in and he's huge. You just brought Trick Williams in and he's not huge, but he's big. It
I mean
feels
he's
like
tall and big, so
yeah. Like he's not as but yeah. He's more. He's got more of still the. I feel like he could move better than either of those guys,
he's
maybe.
not as
But
physically imposing, but
right, he's still
he's
huge. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But you bring in three new huge guys. I mean, I just wonder, like, WWE, are we bringing in too many big guys all at once? Like, what are we going to do with
Well,
all these humongous dudes?
according to rumors, WWE is moving back towards that bigger, stronger, taller style of wrestler. That's a lot of what they're looking for. That's what a lot of what they're looking for in the NCAA athletes is a lot of those bigger guys, 6'5" plus, is what a lot of them are looking for. So
I mean,
I
I
don't
feel like
really know.
as big as Damian Priest is, I feel like those three guys just moved Priest to the mid card.
And Priest was already kind of there, so
Yeah, he already was kind of there, but yeah.
yeah. But let me see. Who else can we really talk? I'm
Well,
looking through the names and
Drew eliminating Cody was big, I think, as well.
yeah.
That was kind of unexpected, but and I don't know if it was needed. I don't know, yet again, I don't know where they're going with the Drew storyline. I mean, does this mean now we're going with Cody next? Because
Well, I think we could see. Look, I think that one of two things probably is really one of three. It's either we're going to get that chamber match with all the guys and Drew's defending that title. And it really depends on Roman because number two, it could be that we get a triple threat Roman, Drew, and Cody, where technically we get Cody, Roman 3, but it's not really. And then you throw in Drew, who has really been entangled between both of Cody and Roman for the last like 4 or 5 years. And
right,
so now we get this big triple threat match between those three, or it's just Cody and Drew at WrestleMania again, and Roman goes after Punk. I really don't know, but I feel like Cody is getting at least one more shot at the title. Before Monday night after WrestleMania, before the Raw after WrestleMania, Cody's getting one more shot. And whether it's at Elimination Chamber or at WrestleMania in a triple threat or a singles match, I'm not really sure. But I do think that Cody's getting one more shot. I do agree with you. I think that Drew eliminating Cody was unnecessary. I think that maybe WWE felt like they were backed into a corner of like, who do you have eliminate Cody? Because then blah, 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 blah. Just get Jacob Fatu to do it, dude. I don't know. I don't think it has to be that deep. I think you could just, I don't know. I don't want to try to fantasy book a spot right here on the spot, but I think that there were plenty of things that you could have done that wasn't Drew eliminating Cody. And then on top of all that, we didn't get Sami Zayn in the Rumble at all. Like, he's just like, I get it, he got the title match, but we didn't see him. Like, how cool would it have been is if Sammy, who's also beat up and hobbled, came out and just like took out Gunther and was just like, no, Gunther's hurt, took him out, boom, and now Sammy's got this like really serious outer shell that he's showing everyone, even though he's brutally beaten up inside. And now he's got this seriousness about him, and he probably still wouldn't win the Rumble. I'd say you have him runner up. But man, I don't know. It's easy to nitpick when you got 30 guys in the Rumble, and you could have had 7 to 8 more that really should have maybe had a spot in there. But all that to say, I agree with you. I think that the Drew elimination on Cody was unwarranted, unnecessary. I don't really think that I would have done it. But again, I'm also not in that writer's room making millions of dollars. So I don't know, man. I maybe would have had Randy eliminate Cody, to be honest. Maybe that's where I would have gone.
That could have worked.
Maybe throw a little, and you could have had Randy kind of play it off, be like, hey man, it's the Royal Rumble. Look,
I would have liked
we're all
Randy to
friends, but
eliminate, Randy to eliminate both Cody and Jacob, maybe at the same time, And then, and I would like Drew to just be standing there watching, laughing, like you say, 'cause we still know who kicked Joseph's teeth in. So maybe it was Randy.
I still think there's a very good possibility it's Randy. I mean, man, what if it is Randy? And what if we don't get Cody Randy yet, and we just get Randy as a heel against Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania? I think I'm in for that. I think sign me up. I would love that. All right, well, let's look at a few more talking points.
What do you think of the Final Four? Because Logan Paul makes the Final Four. Wish he'd made the Final Two. Like I said, I feel like Logan Paul is a future for this company, man. And I really thought for a second when he made the Final Four, I'm like, dude, could Logan Paul take this? I knew he wasn't going to, but
here's the thing. I love Logan making the Final Four. I actually think that they should kind of make that his bit, where he doesn't ever win it, but he's just like, eventually 5 years down the line, he's going to be like, guys, I've been in 7 Royal Rumbles. I've been in the Final Four every time. And we're like, oh shit, Logan's been in the Final Four every time he's been in a Rumble. That's crazy. So I love actually Logan being like a perennial Final Four member, Final 3, whatever. But I feel like runner-up just would have made it way too obvious who was winning. I don't think there's any way in hell that Logan would have won this year's Rumble.
But when it came down to... Well, when it came down to hurt Gunther and Roman Reigns, was there any doubt who was going to win?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You thought Gunther? Okay, all right.
I think that Gunther, because like you can say Gunther's hurt, but at the end of the day, imagine if a hurt heel Gunther still eliminated Roman and won. Imagine the heat he would get. That would make sense. Logan Paul eliminating Roman Reigns when Logan has no ties to the world championship scene whatsoever, is really locked into this vision storyline against the Luchadors. It would have made, I feel like him being the last two, it would have been like, well, just have Logan jump over the top rope and get out because there's no way he's winning. But I feel like Roman and Gunther.
Or you have him win and you spin it and you're like, all of a sudden Paul Heyman's like, Brock, I got to get behind Logan. He's now the champion spot. You go be in the tag team.
See, the only way I could see them weaseling their way out of that is if they had Logan win, and then in a way of like, because we still think that there's a chance Logan may be a plant for Seth too.
Right.
And maybe
right.
Logan and Austin. And maybe we find out that down the line that Austin Theory is the plant this whole time. Logan kind of finds out about it or gets the hint. And then when it comes time to pick sides, he picks sides with Seth. I could see a situation where if Logan would have won, which again, Matt, I think would never happen in 2026. But if Logan would have won, maybe we see a situation where the next Monday night on Raw, where Paul Heyman is like, hey, look, Logan, I know you won the Rumble. Congratulations. But just remember the group that took you in. We took you in when nobody wanted you. And you remember, we said the whole reason that we were in this Rumble was to give Braun Breaker his Royal Rumble win. I think you should give up your Royal Rumble win to Braun Breaker, and you should give Braun Breaker your WrestleMania title shot. And maybe even Logan relents and does it. Maybe he doesn't really want to, but they kind of threatened to beat him down if not. Maybe Bronson Reed steps up and was like, so you're going to give that title shot away or not? And Logan gives the title shot away. And for the weeks and the months leading up to WrestleMania, you kind of see that he's like starting to get frustrated. And he's like starting to think, maybe I don't want to be a part of this group. WrestleMania happens. Seth shows up and attacks Braun Breaker, costs Braun Breaker the match. And when it comes time for Logan to choose sides, Logan could turn and join up with Austin Theory and Seth Rollins and maybe even Paul Heyman. And then all of a sudden we've got Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker just kind of like laid out being like, what the hell's going on? What the hell
Right.
happened? So that's the only way I could see it working out. But no, I feel like I really like Logan being in the final four because I think that they'll just keep padding his resume. You know, like by the time he's done, oh, I made 10 final fours in the Royal Rumble, whatever. More than anybody ever, or whatever you want to do. But when I look at the rest of them, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Gunther, I, I think that either of those three could have realistically won. And it would have made sense. Randy, I think, would have made sense either if you go after Punk or if you go after Drew. I think that no matter who goes after Drew, Cody might be in the mix as a triple threat. And so when I look at that, I told you weeks ago, I would love to see Cody, Roman, and Randy, or not Cody, Roman, Randy, Cody, Randy, and Drew at WrestleMania in a triple threat for that title. I feel like that Drew and Cody are so intertwined with so many different guys that you could throw like a Randy Orton or a Roman Reigns in there and or a Jacob Fatu in there and make that a triple threat, and it would make sense and probably be even better for all three of those. And then you say like a hobbled Gunther, like, yeah, would it be crazy if he won? Sure, but it's also crazy that he retired Goldberg and John Cena and AJ Styles. And would I put it past WWE to have him retire AJ Styles and then win the Rumble in the same night and then show up on Monday Night Raw and laugh in our faces about it? No, I think that's exactly what Gunther would do. And so, like, would it have been crazy for him to win against a hobbled Roman or a hobbled against Roman Reigns? Yeah, maybe. But like, Roman is such a big star, you can easily recover from that and easily find a way to put him in the other world title scene. So either of those three I could have seen easily winning, but Logan Paul was the odd man out for me. But again, I think it's mainly about padding his resume of the top four because I'd have to see how many top fours he's been in. But I don't know, Matt. What did you think about the final four?
Yeah, like I said, I liked where it went. I just maybe the order of eliminations for me would have been different, you know. And I don't know if I want Gunther in there, like because he was the one. Like I said, I didn't like Gunther at 30. I didn't like him in there. I felt like he did enough, you know, against the AJ Styles match. And if he's going to come out there and kayfabe an injury or not, or whatever it is, I would have rather had somebody else in there at 30, maybe. But like you said, I could have seen Randy winning this. I could have found a way for Logan Paul to book it if he won it, but obviously Roman, we could see Roman winning it. I just now, where does it go, man? I mean, is Roman Punk, right? Is that where we're going? We're going Roman Punk, and we're gonna have Roman Punk for the heart of Paul Heyman. I mean, what are we doing here? You know, I mean, so who's Roman go after is my biggest question after all this, and it's got to be Punk. I don't see him going after Drew, but if he got in that storyline, God, that would be entertaining as hell. Having him, Cody, Fatu, Randy, everybody going after Drew, even Sammy maybe still. I don't know, Trick Williams still. I mean, it's crazy how SmackDown heavy all of a sudden a lot of the talent is, where usually it's been Raw heavy. You know, now it feels like the teeter-totter is swung to SmackDown. But if you bring Roman back, you put him on Raw, you build up, you know, him and Punk and all the bad blood between them. I think that's where it's got to go. That's where I'm for. Man, it feels like a long time to wait for wrestling. Like, I'd rather Roman have won Elimination Chamber to get to that point, maybe, you know? Because I feel
Well,
like,
you've got to account for him missing 2 to 3 weeks of TV at a time. So,
well,
sure,
I
2 or 3 months till WrestleMania, but he's probably only going to be on like 3 or 4 televised shows.
I heard a rumor that he's going to make more appearances than that. I don't know if it's true or
Maybe.
not, but I've heard that the filming is done with Street Fighter and whatnot. He's going to be free to be there. Now, whether or not he's actually there, I don't know. But that's just some rumors I've heard in my closely knit other wrestling groups.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see because I don't know. Roman at the last few years he's part-time to me and that it is what it is, but sorry, I was about to sneeze, but it went away. Roman Reigns, Superman punched my sneeze away. Thank you, Roman.
There we go.
But no, I don't, I think there's a pretty good possibility we're headed towards Roman Punk, but I don't think Paul Heyman's involved at all.
Really?
I don't think why would he be? He's not involved with either of them right now.
But the last time that these two guys saw each other, wasn't it in the ring when Paul betrayed them both?
Yeah, so why would they be hung up on trying to win him back?
I don't know. I just feel like somehow Paul gets him because it's also on Raw. It's also probably going to be like Braun should be in this match, you know, something like that.
No, I think that Paul will in some way, because he always does. I think Paul will in some way make himself known in this and say like, you know, Braun Breaker never got his proper shot, but I feel like that Braun or Paul is too heavily involved with all the Vision stuff, with the Adam Pierce stuff. And again, I told you that I feel like on the opposite side of this, Paul is going to go with either Bronson Reed or Braun Breaker, and that's going to be his guy going forward. I think Punk and Roman are at the point they don't need Paul anymore.
Right,
I
right,
think
right.
Paul's at the
It's not
point
really for
where
the heart of Paul, but you know what I mean. I just feel like somehow Paul Heyman is going to be involved in this match for better or worse. If nothing else, just because he wants his 2 cents to be heard on Punk and on Roman. It's like, well, you know, there's somebody who knows about Punk. It's me. I'm his best friend. If you know there's somebody who knows about Roman, it's me. I was his, chief advisor, like,
his
so
wise man. Yeah,
his
yeah.
wise man. That's what I was looking for. His wise man, So I feel like somehow Paul's going to insert himself into this match. It feels, and like I said, does he bring Braun with him in a sense? Does it bring Seth back? Because God, man, if Seth's going to come back for a match, right, it's to screw up Punk and Roman at WrestleMania. Man, give me that all day long.
Well, I feel like it's going to be to ruin whatever Braun's got going on at WrestleMania. We still got to see what that's all about.
That
But
too.
I actually,
But he hates Punk. He's gonna always hate Punk. I mean, I watched the thing with him and Becky the other day, like answer 5 questions or whatever, and
yeah,
it's still just I hate Punk. I mean, there's no pretending. It's so
I think we could see a situation maybe by the end of this year because the year has just started, or by next year, where they're flipped. I think Seth could be a babyface and Punk is the heel at some point. And yeah, I mean we've seen Punk as a heel before and he's excellent, but I think it's just time that if we're going to keep something going with Seth and Punk, we got to change up the dynamic a little bit, and I think that would be good. I actually, you're talking about Paul. Last thing for me on Paul Heyman, I think that it's actually more likely that he kind of sides with and hangs around Brock Lesnar for the last little run of Brock Lesnar's career. You
right.
know, Brock is such a star that he doesn't necessarily need Paul, but Brock's also not the best on the mic. Punk and Roman and Seth had the mic skills that you can argue Brock doesn't really have. And so if Brock really is going to retire this year, especially at SummerSlam, shoot, let the vision, dissolve and break away and you break up or whatever, and just have Paul, because I mean, he already escorted Brock Lesnar out for the Rumble last
Right.
night. Have him just hang out with Brock for this last run, and then when Brock is done, you can have Paul either just stay backstage and do what he's doing back there, or you can have him run with somebody else. I don't really know, but I feel like Paul would be more inclined to run with Brock Lesnar than he would Roman or Punk in this stage.
Yeah, no, I don't see him wanting to run with him. I just see him just disrupting it, or something. I don't know. Making it about him. Like, this match is really about me, guys. It's really about me. You're both just upset because you lost me, something like that.
That's Paul.
Yeah,
That's Paul. That's Paul Heyman. All right, so let's see if I can get the Iron Man. Who was the Iron Man?
Who was the Iron Man?
Oh, they don't have it listed. I'll have to look up and see who the Iron Man was.
Who was the Iron?
Let me see. I'm about to look it up. Who was the Iron Man?
Cody? Would have been Cody, maybe?
Cody came out at 11.
Yeah, but he stayed in there almost till the end. I mean, Oba came in, but he got knocked out by I don't know. Oba was there for a hot minute too, so it could be Oba. I'd say it's Oba or Cody would be my guess.
I'm trying to pull it up right now. Give me just a second. Come on. Who lasted the longest in Royal Rumble 2026? They showed me the women's one.
Yep.
Javon Evans was the Iron Man for the men's Rumble. He lasted a little over 40 minutes.
Okay, yeah, he almost made it to the Final Four, I think, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, okay, so Javon Evans, and then I don't know who got the most eliminations.
I think Oba got
was it Oba? Yeah, Oba, of course.
I'm pretty sure it was Oba got the most eliminations, yeah.
And then I ended up getting the winner. So I was ahead of you. So when Braun got handily eliminated right there at the jump, I looked at Tristan and I looked at my wife. And I said, "Oh, Matt's gonna be pissed."
Like, there goes my winner. Yeah.
She was like, "Why?" And I told her and showed her like for a split second, and she was like, "Oh." I said, "Yeah, he's gonna be a little frustrated." So, yeah, your winner was very quickly up, but at least you got to watch it with like a fresh perspective of like, all right, my winner's out. So like, I guess we'll see.
Like I said, Brock went out in the one way. I don't think anybody saw another masked dude stomp it coming out. I think that as much as we've seen it, I don't think any of us expected to see it again. So I like that elimination.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to keep Braun safe, and I don't know what's on the horizon for him, but it looks like it's got to be Seth. It looks like it's got to be Seth at WrestleMania. So that's where my money is currently. But yeah, so Iron Man, Javon Evans, most eliminations, Oba Femi. First out were Oba and Braun, and then of course your winner, Roman Reigns. So I said it in our predictions pod that I was taking the two most boring answers because I was picking the two odds on favorites to win, and lo and behold, the two odds-on favorites ended up winning both of the matches. So, congrats to Liv Morgan and Roman Reigns. Probably in 2026, two of the name, or at least one Roman, one name that a lot of people say probably shouldn't have won. But look, man, you can say all you want about Roman. Dude is over now. Like we see it differently because we went through the phase of like Roman Reigns like being that John Cena esque, Hulk Hogan esque babyface that just like shoved down our throats every week, wins everything, so on and so forth. But now I feel like Roman's gone through this like career redemption where he's just a lot more respected. And look, as much as you might not like Roman winning the Rumble, it's not like it's only his second one. I say only, but it's his second one. And they're 11 years apart, dude. Like, and in the Rumble, outside of like Jey Uso, I'd have to look back at all the winners. In my opinion, I don't think the Rumble should be for guys who are making their names as stars. I think that the Rumble should be for people who are already established names that can use that as a catapult to go to WrestleMania. I think the Money in the Bank is what most people should be using to make their names. And I think that was a big mistake by WWE. I think they should have gone with the Money in the Bank briefcase for Jey Uso instead of the Royal Rumble win. And I feel like maybe that would have done some different things for Jay's career now in the long term because again, that whole stretch for Jay was just weird. You have him lose at the Saturday night's main event before the Rumble. Then you have him win the Rumble. Then you have him look like honestly, you have him look pretty bitch made in the build up to WrestleMania until finally his brother, bloodied and beaten, gets choked out in front of him. And then now all of a sudden we have this new unlocked Jey Uso who we don't really see until WrestleMania where he just randomly makes Gunther tap out and then he loses the championship, what, 2 months later? And so it's like, I feel like if maybe we had Jay become Mr. Money in the Bank, where he's got his money in the Yeet briefcase or something. It just says Yeet on the front. It's just decorated in all his like colors and stuff. I feel like that would have been great and maybe would have gotten more people behind him. But as a Royal Rumble winner who really flamed out really quick and kind of showed that he can't work the long matches, he gets gassed pretty easy. He can't really stand toe to toe with a lot of guys on the mic. I know I'm just shitting on Jey Uso a lot this episode, but like I don't know. I feel like Jey Uso is like the perfect example of what not to do right now with your talent.
And
And
I feel like Oba Femi though is like what they did with Oba, bringing him out first. If you're gonna put somebody over, I mean, he knocked out like the first 6 or 7 guys, all all on his own. So if you're gonna put somebody over, I think you put them over like that. You do it early, you give them, somebody to knock out or like somebody to take out or some run to go on. Like they gave Lash Legend, they gave her a little run. I mean, I think that's
because
how
let
you
me
put.
ask you, Matt. Let me ask you. You bring up a really good point. When you look at, let's compare Jey Uso's Rumble performance last year and then Oba's Rumble performance this year. Whose performance are you taking?
Obas, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah,
he wasn't even the one that won it. Jey
right.
Uso won it last year. And then between the entrance and the presentation of Oba, which again, they made him feel like a main eventer already. He feels like a superstar from the first second his music hits. His pyros are shooting off in the background. The whole stadium has the pyro going off. And then he gets all those eliminations. I feel better about Oba Femi having the performance in the Rumble he did and not winning it than I feel about Jey Uso having the performance he did and then winning the whole damn thing and eliminating John Cena last year. So, like, I don't know, man. Again, not trying to just crap on Jey Uso the whole episode, but
Well, let's be honest.
yeah, I
And
feel
when he
like you're
beat
spot on about Oba.
and when he beat John Cena last year, let's be honest, it was like one of the weakest outs ever. He kind of just pushed him. So
It
yeah,
just felt
look.
like it shouldn't have been happening from the jump. Like from the second Jay won, it felt like that was something that shouldn't have happened.
In fairness, though, like I feel like that kind of storyline got caught up with like because let's not forget they royally like were screwing up the early parts of the John Cena retirement tour. Where they're like, we don't know what to do with John. We're gonna make him a heel for a while, and we're gonna have him go against The Rock or something, and then like, oh no, screw all that. And then the final months of the John Cena retirement tour were great once they brought him back face. But That was part of that whole going heel, you know, time or experiment, or right at the beginning, because he came out that press conference, I think, and announced, "I am in the Elimination Chamber." So, in some ways, Jay might have gotten, his character might have gotten swept into that in a way that it shouldn't have. Like, the John Cena retirement tour, I think, kind of screwed up a couple things that, maybe would have been normal storylines, because they had to accommodate, what are we doing with John? Which is fine, because we all love John Cena. But now, yeah, we got to get back to the right stories, man. We got to figure out what the hell is going on with Jey Uso, because is he losing it, or is it all just kayfabe? I don't know.
Yeah, whatever's going on with Jay, they got to figure it out quick because, again, I hope that if he's going through some stuff personally, just give him some time off, dude. Just
Yeah,
let him have some time to relax, take a vacation, because at this point, I'm getting this close to just skipping, like pausing and skipping through Jey Uso segments whenever he's on TV.
I'm
I'm
just
this
wondering, like,
close.
are they trying to get us to do that, or do they think it's still working? Because Triple H says he doesn't pay attention to any of the online stuff. He looks at what's happening in the building, and if you look at what's happening in the building, yeah, everybody's still getting up and yeeting. But that's because it's probably fun when you're there. But for the rest of
Yeah.
us, it's like I said, I'm just waiting
Well,
for the fan to
I'm
throw the
sure his
Kobe
merch
at him.
sales. I'm sure his merch sales are still through the roof. Like
Probably,
it's
probably.
hard to cut somebody off whenever he's selling so much merch. Like that's why they never flip John Cena because it's like, look, you guys might hate him, but the kids love him, and the parents love him, and the women love him, and same thing with Jey Uso, dude. The kids, the parents, and the women love him, and he sells a ton of merch, and he's gonna continue doing that more than likely. But I'm just wondering if this is just Jay's place on the roster. He's just the hype guy that can't handle the main event scene. And when he's not in the tag team, he's just like middling through the mid card. And maybe that's his spot. And that there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think the world championship run it flopped. And I think that they have a really good opportunity to do something good with Roman and Liv this year. And I think that their storylines are a lot more I think their storylines are a lot more interwoven and better than Jay's was last year. Jay's last year was, well, I can't beat this guy, and then oh well, he beat up on my brother, so now I'm pissed. And then I don't know. I'm not gonna jump through the
And
whole
no,
thing
no, you're right.
again,
And
but
they had to create the story. There wasn't even really a story there. Like, they had to create the story. Like, there's a story for Roman and Punk. You'd have to maybe finagle the story with Cody and Roman, but God, at the same time, how great would a Cody Roman match be leading into Street Fighter, right? So, I
that's
mean,
another a lot of people are saying there's no way we get Cody Roman again, but like I don't know, man. And then a lot of people think like, what if Cody turns heel? I don't know if Cody's turning heel already, but it would be pretty crazy to see a different dynamic of a heel Cody and a babyface Roman going into a
mhm.
WrestleMania match against each other. So, look, as much as Rumble, I think tied a lot of stuff together. I think they did a really good job of making us say, okay, well, what are you guys going to do for Elimination Chamber now? Because Elimination Chamber, we have a lot more questions about what's going to happen there and what's going to happen leading into WrestleMania. Um, all right, Matt. Overall thoughts. Not. I guess we talked a lot about it, but if you had to give me 3 words to describe the Royal Rumble PLE as a whole, I'm putting you on the spot. But if you had to give me 3 words to describe the Royal Rumble PLE as a whole, what would you say?
Slightly underwhelming. I guess underwhelming is one word, but still slightly,
Under hyphen whelming.
yeah, slightly underwhelming finish, or not finish, because the finish wasn't bad. Just
Slightly
slightly
underwhelming. Period. Boo.
slightly underwhelming overall. Like I said, I don't feel
Mm.
like there's a lot of surprises anywhere. We knew largely, we had a feeling Liv was going to win. You had a feeling Roman was going to win. We both knew that AJ was going to lose, and we both knew that Drew was going to win. Kind of a little underwhelming. Not a lot of surprises, as we said. Nobody popping out really from TNA or NXT in the men's rumble for sure. No Joe Hendry, I mean, so just a little underwhelming, but at the same time, curious still where these storylines go. So I'd say slightly underwhelming overall.
Okay. I think I'm right there with you. I think, like, I was really pumped about the Rumble. It's my favorite PLE of the year. I don't think it was bad. This is nowhere near the worst
No, it
Rumble I've
wasn't
ever
bad.
seen.
No, no.
No, nowhere near. But like you said, after the fact, I'm sitting there when the Rumble is done, and I'm just like, okay.
Dude, I went and watched, I watched them anyways, but I went and watched like the post news conference or whatever afterwards. And even that didn't really have any fireworks. Like, I was just waiting for
Well,
something.
they were probably all tired. It was
Yeah,
almost
no, they
3
probably
a.m.
were. But if you think about it, the most fireworks we got was Paul Heyman right at the jump yelling at Adam Pearce. That was kind of like the most fireworks we got the entire show. So I just I needed a little more of that surprise, a little more of that, unexpectedness. And I don't, besides Obafemi coming out one, which I wasn't ready for, and then eliminating eight people, I don't know what else really caught me super off guard here with this Rumble, or Brie Bella coming back. So I wasn't ready for Brie to come back. So that might be the other one.
Oh God, her song's terrible, but they popped crazy for it. So
No, dude, they
shout
popped
out, shout out to
nuts.
Brie Bella, shout out to the Bella Twins. I hope they're around for the tag division for a while now
Shout out to
because
Brie Bella
gonna
probably
need it.
getting the biggest pop of the night. I mean, it was just wow,
Like
wow.
legit massive pop, massive
Yeah.
pop. I was shocked. I mean, I was shocked when the music hit, but or just the explosion of the
Mhm.
audience after the fact was just shout out to Brie Bella. I don't think she one of the women that doesn't maybe get enough respect for what she's done for the business, but yeah, incredibly huge pop. Happy for her and the Bella Twins. Hopefully they get a tag title run because back whenever the Bellas were around the first time, there were no tag team championships. So I don't know if because the last time we saw Brie was 2022 ish. I don't really remember if they had a little run with the tag titles or not. But even if they did, put it on them again. I don't care. All right. Well, that has been our review of the Royal Rumble. I would probably give it 7.5 out of 10, 8 out of 10, somewhere in there. Not the best, but not bad. I thought it was a pretty good show. But again, surprises. We just didn't get a ton of those where we could have had a good bit of surprises. Um, yeah, what did you think about the Royal Rumble? Did you pick the winners correctly? How sad are you to see AJ Styles go? And do you think that he shows up in another company? Let us know down in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share with your friends. Matt, do you have anything you want to say before we get out of here?
We're revamping the official Tailgate Kings website. We got a TK Wrestling header up on there, so we're trying to get that all going. So not only are we gonna have the Facebook, the Instagram, whatever, but we'll also have a website home that you can hopefully go find anything you're missing, and maybe Casey and I will start maybe writing an article or two, to start. We'll see what's up,
That'd
but
be cool.
we're revamping the entire TK website right now, so that's exciting. But yeah, go find us on all those socials. Leave the comments, man. I really want to know where you think who is like. So, what do you think? Is Paul going to get involved? Is Roman going after Punk? I want to know these things, like you said. So hit us up in the comments. Love reading those comments.
Yeah, 100%. You guys have been dropping a lot of comments on the last few TikToks we've been dropping. So keep doing that. Keep it up. We like reading that and we like arguing with you. So until next time, this has been TK Wrestling. We'll be back the Tuesday after Monday Night Raw for our Monday Night Raw reactions and what we're looking forward to going into Friday Night SmackDown. Until then, see you guys next time. We're out.